Stream onto Facebook. Hey. Assalamu alaikum again, everybody. How are you ladies on this couple days before winter break starts? How's everybody feeling? I'm feeling so excited.
Assalamualaikum.
I need a break. But I know in the middle of it, I'll be like, I need this break to end. So, inshallah, that's how it always works with us. Mom life, you know. Anyways, so assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to our December Women's Health Matters discussion. I am so excited to have you all here because this topic is something I know a lot of people were looking forward to. And we are really happy to have Dr. Salma Rawof join us. For those of you who do not know, our Women's Health Matters discussions are part of our Women's Health Task Force. This is some of the awareness programming that we do. We just want women to be able to talk about the stuff they're going through, learn from each other, learn from experts, and just live better lives because of it, right? Be healthier and think about their well-being. And that first step is really gaining the knowledge. So, mashallah, we have a community filled with wise women that have so many different expertise. And especially when it comes to our healthcare, we are really blessed as a community to have some incredible women, mashallah. Right now, joining us for this conversation, we have some of our women's health team. We have Sadia, who is our Women's Health Matters coordinator. So she's the one who sets all this stuff up. We have a whole women's health task force that comes up with ideas for conversation topics. And Sadia and Abila is a mental health counselor, that they came up with this idea that we need to have a series of conversations where we really take back control of our health and understand what we need and advocate for ourselves. And I think it's really been fascinating to have some of these conversations over the last few months. We talked about breast cancer and caregiving. We talked about diabetes. And now this conversation is, I think, a really important one to have. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. I will begin first with some introductions from everybody. If everybody can just say their uh, their day job. What is it that they do in the community other than sit and talk to us at MWO? What is it that you do so that women know that they can connect with you after we're done with this conversation? We'll start with Dr. Salma Rawof. Can you let everybody know what is your area of expertise?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, thank you so much for having me and allowing me to be part of this. You guys do an amazing job, so jazakallah khair for everything you do. Um, People who know me know I always start with the dua, so I'm just going to pray that Allah puts barakah in our time and any benefit that you receive is from Allah alone. And please forgive me for my shortcomings in advance. So, with that, I am a board certified family physician and I have my own practice with my partner, Sarah Siddiqui, in Lake Nona. And we see patients of all ages. I start ages 7 and up, a lot of women, a lot of families, elderly, and we pretty much do primary care. I do a lot of women's health, pap smears. Lately, I've been treating a lot of hormone, and I treat a lot of mental health and partner with our counselors. So I'm excited to have a wide variety here today to talk about things because health is not just unidimensional, it's multidimensional. And my approach to healthcare is very holistic, very lifestyle driven. So this is a great topic because it lends to that. So thank you for having me. And yeah, feel free to reach out if I can be of service.
MashaAllah. And those of you who do not know, Selma is actually one of our Boss Women graduates as well. She's
I
amazing.
am.
And Selma is involved with a masjid down south in Lake Nona. So, mashallah, it's amazing these years that I've known you, Selma. Like you built a whole masjid. It's amazing.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah, mashallah.
It's a team effort, and the same thing
Alhamdulillah.
that you do, Sadaf, mashallah. It's
That's
impressive. But yeah, Lake Nona Masjid, and I'm a mom of four, alhamdulillah. I have to put that out there because we wear all these hats, and everyone knows us as, oh, you're a life coach and you're a physician. And I'm like, yeah, but before all of that, I'm a mom, and it's important that we maintain that balance. So
Yeah. So thank you
it's
for taking the
possible.
time out of your busy, busy, busy schedule to do this. It really means a lot. It
Thank
really
you.
does.
Thank you for having me.
Sadia, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do? I feel like you are becoming famous in our community, Sadia.
Oh, really? My goodness.
Mashallah.
I'm honored. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sadia. First of all, mom of four too, as well. Alhamdulillah. Two toddler twins and then two older ones. So that's my main job. And then I'm the coordinator for Health Task Force, which I'm very, very honored and happy and excited to be a part of with such beautiful, wonderful women that spreads so much positivity. So that's my second role. And then my third role is that I own a clinic on OBT. We do health and wellness. So we have my main role is a hijama cupping practitioner. But we have other health and wellness services like physiotherapy, chiropractor. We're adding more services soon, like wound care and medical services as well. So that's my career. I'm also a doctor, but in the process of getting licensed. Let's
Mashallah.
see when soon, inshallah. Um, yeah, that's about it. It's a lot of roles, and it's all. I'm happy, alhamdulillah, that I have all of these tasks in my life.
Yeah, I think Muslim women are magical because we can do all the things and do them all so
Yes,
well. Mashallah,
yes,
mashallah, it's
yes.
amazing. And Abila, would you like to tell everybody what you do in the community?
Very,
Yeah, I think you've been around quite a bit. I remember those support groups, messages I would receive from years ago. You've been doing this a while.
yeah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Assalamu
Mhm.
alaikum, everyone. My name is Abiba Haq. Yes, I've been around for a while. So I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I specialize in health psychology. I'm also trained in trauma work and EMDR. I have been running quite a few support groups. I'm actually starting a new one, so I'll just quickly go over that. Um, I've been running an autoimmune support group for over 14 years. It was in person, now it's virtual. But we meet once a month. It's open to anyone with any autoimmune condition, caregivers, um, that sort of thing. And then also, a new group I'm starting is 30 plus women's caregiver only group. So that's going to be starting in January. So any caregivers who are young women, we dealing with your own life, having kids. Many of you have kids and families, and then also being a caregiver for like a parent or a spouse and things like that. So it's a support group for that. It'll be virtual. Um, but yeah, so I've been practicing in the healthcare industry for over 16 years, and now I'm doing virtual online counseling. So I'm very excited to be here. This is my passion. I love what I do. So I'm also very, very grateful to be part of MWO. I think this has been it's healed my soul in many ways.
Oh, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
So
The feeling is mutual. Alhamdulillah. So thank you, ladies. We're gonna get right down to it. And I wanted to start, we always start with this disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only. These beautiful women are not your personal doctor. They do not know your individual situation. So please see your own healthcare provider, your doctor, your counselor for your personal needs. But this is really to increase awareness about what could be going on, right? So let's just get down to it. I think with the other conversations that we had so far these last few months, I've had much more of a personal connection because of a parent or myself, when it comes to breast cancer or diabetes. I think with this one, it is more like I know quite a few women, really, but it's not anything I've personally had to deal with until recently. One of my daughters has been really struggling with this. So I really want to learn. I'm here to really learn from you ladies. All I can tell you is that the days before the gala, I felt nauseous, right? I'm so stressed out, but I felt physically sick, and I do it all the time. And then that connection between stress and my gut, I know it's there, but I can't really tell you about it. So I would love to learn from you ladies. Why is that happening? What is happening? And when is it something I need to get more help for, right? That's kind of going to be where this conversation goes. My first question, actually, as we get started, is for Dr. Salma. I wanted to know, could you just explain to people what is IBS? What is I think we hear about IBS, we hear about Crohn's disease. What are these diseases? Just a quick summary, like what does it mean? What does IBS mean? What's
All right.
happening?
So basically, you have your gut and you have gut health. And there are diseases that are characterized like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And people have heard of IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease. So when something's a disease, it's easy to diagnose, and we can say this is what you have. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome, which is kind of like PCOS or other syndromes that are basically a collection of symptoms. It's like patients come in, they say, we have abdominal pain, I've got bloating, I have diarrhea, I have constipation, tummy troubles, I just don't, my stomach just doesn't feel right. So when we don't have a true test to diagnose something, we call it a syndrome. And we collectively, for all those symptoms, we'll call it irritable bowel. It seems like your bowel is irritable and it's a bunch of symptoms. So we're just going to call it IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Wow.
So that's essentially what IBS is. It's a collection of symptoms. And there's a lot of
What
research.
symptoms are those? What are the symptoms that you're looking for when it comes to IBS?
So you're looking at abdominal pain, which is the most common, bloating, feeling. Sometimes patients have changes in bowel habits, and some patients are more diarrhea, some patients have more constipation, and you can go alternate between the two. Some patients have, alternating or what we call mixed picture, where we have some constipation and some diarrhea. But basically, to make the diagnosis, we rule out all the other things, and you need to have these symptoms for at least 3 months, 3 to 6 months. So, medically, we're looking at long term. If you have an event coming up and your tummy feels like in knots and it's stress and you have some diarrhea, that's not long enough to call it IBS. It's more of an acute stress response. But when this thing becomes chronic, when it's happening consistently over a period of time, you have all the tests and all the workup. You see your medical doctor and they've ruled out all the other things. At that point, it would be diagnosed as irritable bowel syndrome.
Got it. I did not
Yeah.
know that. So we're starting off educating me because
Awesome.
I thought it was, IBS. I'm thinking, oh, it's a disease. It's something that's like,
Right.
I didn't realize that there was a difference between a syndrome and a disease. So thank you.
Very well.
So much to learn. But I do know that, and I think that's really helpful, right? So 3 months, you said, right? This is something that is ongoing. Awesome. Um, I wanted to um, move the conversation a little bit over to this connection, right? I always try to do a little bit of research, and I saw that there's research that says there is a connection that goes both ways between the nervous system and the gut, right? That you have signals being sent from the gut to the nervous system and then also from the nervous system to the gut. So I wanted to just understand that a little bit. Like, what is going on? How does stress contribute to IBS? What role does our mental health play in developing these symptoms? And then um, also, I wanted to understand what are some triggers that can cause these flare-ups, right? So I'll start first with Abila. Abila, can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
this mental health connection? And then we'll move on to either Sadia, Salma. Salma, if you can
Yeah.
share what are those triggers? Like, what is it that we need to be avoiding, right? So go ahead, Abila, you go
Yeah,
first.
Bismillah. So yeah, absolutely. There is definitely a connection of the nervous system and stress and gut health go hand in hand. So we carry our immune system in our gut, and stress directly impacts our immune system. So when
Wait,
we say,
okay, time out, time out.
yeah,
What does that
okay,
mean that we
okay.
carry our immune system
So
in our gut?
so our defense health, like how our body fights off disease and how our body fights off illness, that there's an element of that in our gut, right? It's where we carry um, a lot of there's actually neural lining in our gut system. So, that gut feeling, that's a real thing. So a lot of times what happens is that there's this, and this is very in depth, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, but there's a whole system which gets activated when we're under stress, whether it's direct stress or perceived stress. So stress isn't just something that, God forbid, if it's like a car accident or something, a chronic illness of some sort. It could be just something that you're thinking about and that's just stressing you out, right? So it's how our thoughts impact our emotions, and then that can impact our physical health. So when we get stressed, when we're either actually going through something stressful or when we're perceiving that something is stressful, our body responds. And typically, like you said, Sadaf, we all kind of feel it, like before a test, before an exam, before a big event that you're putting together, right? It's anything that's anxiety provoking. All these things, we feel it oftentimes in our gut. So you can feel queasy, you can feel, just nervous in your system, in your gut, in your stomach. And then that can translate into a lot of GI issues. So one of the most important things that I teach and I encourage everyone to do is, and you mentioned nervous system, is nervous system regulation. Because when you're stressed or when you're dealing with any history of trauma, it's basically nervous system regulation. Our nervous system is kind of off kilter. You're in fight or flight mode all the time. So you want to teach your body how to decrease its stress. One technique you can do is do breathing exercises and slowing your breathing down. I call it sloth breathing. Like imagine a sloth and just breathing very, very slowly. So you're basically activating your parasympathetic nervous system to calm your body down. That can help ease some of that anxiety and stress and get you out of that fight or flight mode. So I think when you utilize healthy coping skills to manage your actual stressor or perceived stress, it can help manage or reduce some of the GI symptoms, right? That can often come up. And then there's a lot of other holistic techniques, and I'll say this, that so some of you know that I've had a history of autoimmune condition with lupus. So when I first got diagnosed, it was actually going through a lot of stressors in my childhood, and it was the first symptom I had was gut issues. Like that's how they found it. I had gut inflammation. So the inflammation is a direct response of increase in stress, right? So a lot of autoimmune related diseases and conditions and also like Crohn's, right? All these different gut health issues are directly linked to stress. So stress management is key. The underlying moral of the story is manage your stress, meditate, pray, do the breathing, slow your breathing down. If you can just breathe slowly, inhale slowly, exhale, you'll find that in itself just like it's such an amazing technique to just calm your nervous system and your entire body.
Thank you. And I think honestly, like without even knowing that, that's kind of where I go.
Mm-hmm.
How do
Yeah.
I kind of calm
So
down,
that's
right?
self-awareness, right? You
Yeah.
have to build that self-awareness that, okay, this is coming up. So being proactive about a situation that could be potentially stressful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Salma, I wanted to kind of shift to those are, you know, I think understanding stress and everything is really important, but are there any other triggers to getting
Absolutely.
IBS or these symptoms coming on? What else can cause this?
Yeah. Um, so there's three main things, but on the note of Abila and the breathing, I'm going to do a big, huge plug for yoga right here because yoga breathing is very different. So if you haven't tried it, please give it a try. We have a monthly all sisters only yoga class every month, and I'll share that information with you, Sadaf, if you want to distribute it. And it's private, so it really helps with just establishing that breathing because it's so important, Abila. I love what you said about just slowing down and calming down. And you don't need anything to do that. It's just you and your lungs, so it's always available.
No insurance necessary.
So, in terms of triggers, there are three main things, and Abila mentioned the first one, which is stress, which is a huge factor. The second, or the most important one, is a diet, right? What we put into our body is directly what affects our gut health, and the foods that we put in here, we, especially as women, we're the ones who are bringing the food to the house. We're the ones preparing the food. So it's not just your gut, but it's the gut of the family. And that's a huge responsibility, and an opportunity to really make great lifestyle changes, right? By just eating the right foods. So certain foods, there's a diet called the FODMAP diet, FODMAP.
Wait, could you FOGMAP? Oh,
FODMAP, FODMAP.
okay.
And it's basically an acronym. So you want to do a low FODMAP diet to help if you have IBS or if you have irritable bowel type symptoms. And it basically stands for a certain class of carbohydrates. It's for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Go Google it. You'll come up with a whole bunch of different foods that you should be eating, you should not be eating. Getting into really the nitty gritty, how those short acting carbohydrates or the short chain carbohydrates are broken down and what your body sees. But basically, with the patients that I've seen, I can tell you there's a couple of things that we usually start with, and those are the culprits. So dairy is the first one. And what I try with my patients is an elimination diet. So we go dairy free, and that's like all dairy, yogurt, ice cream included. And I'm sorry, but I love my ice cream, but ice cream included. So all I tell them is like, let's just try this for 2 weeks and see how you do. And if you feel better, then it's your decision, right? So dairy, gluten, so checking for celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, that's another big culprit. High sugar foods, pretty much anything. Most of what we eat is so modified, has tons of sugar in it. So making sure you're just eating healthy, good food. I tell my patients this, like if you're heading to the pantry, your kids are heading to the pantry for a snack, let's redirect to the fridge. If a food is not going to go bad, it's probably not, good for you because it's got enough preservatives and enough things in there to keep it that way. And if a food is like fruits, fresh vegetables, so just try to, being mindful of what you're eating, how you're eating, and what you're putting into your body, because it really makes a huge impact. There's this a diagnosis of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And part of IBS is because of SIBO, and a lot of SIBO has to do with what we're putting into our body. What we're putting in creates an environment for certain types of bacteria to grow. And if the wrong bacteria are growing, they're producing all this gas. And that gas is what makes you feel bloated, makes you feel uncomfortable, and causes all the other, changes in your gut. So probiotics helps, and a few things help, and we'll get into that. So basically, your diet, your stress, and the third thing is hormones. And I'm saying that because we're a whole bunch of women here. We've got hormones, and more studies are showing how estrogen and progesterone levels affect everything in the body, including our gut health. And as we get older, and we are hitting that perimenopause, menopause stage, our digestive issues, our gut health gets affected. I have patients that are gaining more weight, or they're just not able to lose weight. They are having more bloating, irregular bowel movements, constipation. They're like, I've never had this, and now I feel like my gut's just not moving, right? It's just sitting there, like food's just sitting there, or I'm hungry all the time, or I don't feel hungry, but I haven't eaten anything all day. And I don't eat, but I'm gaining weight. I hear that all day, every day. Like, I just eat one meal or I eat very little. I don't know why I'm gaining weight. So a lot of that has to do with our hormones and how our hormones are affecting. So the three things that can affect is our diet, our mental health and stress, and the hormone levels. And all of those need to be checked and addressed, and figure out your cause of how we can optimize your gut health.
Wow. That explains so much, Selma. Like I hit the big 50, and I think a lot of these things, the hormones, for me, TMI, I had a hysterectomy, so it suddenly happened, right? A lot of these things, suddenly I feel different. The way I'm processing foods is different. Everything feels different, right?
Right.
But I think it's important for me to understand that connection between the hormones and my gut and all of these things. I didn't make that connection. I don't think I go there, right? I think a lot of it is like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why
Right.
can't I, lose my weight, or why can't I do this, or why can't I do that, when it may be something really we need to go to a doctor and deal with our physiological, our
Absolutely.
hormones and other issues. So thank you. I think that's a really important connection to point out. Um, I'm taking so many notes. I always take so many notes, and I think I'm going to put this on the blog. I'm going to put all the wisdom that everybody shared. And the winter break is coming up. Maybe that's what will actually happen. But I think all of these resources that you're talking about, Selma, please do send them my way, and then I will definitely find a way to share them soon, at least with everybody who attended. Um, I wanted to move our conversation a little bit over to, um, you know, we are doing this series of conversations really so that we can take the control of our health back, right? So that we can make the decisions that we need to make so that we can live healthier, happier lives. And I think ladies have shared so much important information, little things that really we can do. Breathing, and going to the fridge instead of the pantry. I think these are little things that we can really remind ourselves of. But I did want to ask and move our conversation over to, okay, so we have this, we're dealing with IBS, we're living with IBS, we're trying to control things. We do need to change how we live our lives, right? You mentioned a few things, but how can we improve our quality of life when we have been diagnosed with a disease, something like Crohn's disease, or, you've mentioned a few. What does that look like? Because sometimes having these diseases, right, or living with IBS makes us depressed. We can't have the sugar. We can't have these things that we love. And we have to make these drastic life changes that then stress us out and then cause more, like, it seems like this big circle. Like, how do we manage this and move forward so that our quality of life really is not impacted in that way? Everything's going to impact our quality of life, but how do we improve that quality of life when we are living with these conditions? And this can be honestly to either, anybody. Please just unmute and just share your insights on this idea of just improving our quality of life moving forward.
So
Okay, I'll go
some
to Abila first. Abila,
Okay.
you
Okay.
first, and then
I'll just say, this is a great conversation. Like I said earlier, my whole journey with health stuff started with my gut, right? So gut health has been a priority for me from since age 8. Um, and a lot of times that when you go through certain treatments, that in itself can cause gut health issues. A lot of times medications can cause GI issues, right? And like you said, Sadaf, when you're dealing with chronic health conditions like Crohn's or celiac, it is a very big life changing event because there's something that feels like, and I use this word control with air quotes. It feels like control is being taken away from you, right? And that in itself is very stressful. So a few things that I always encourage and practice myself is looking at what I can manage. Be your best manager, right? Make choices that learn how to make better choices for your overall health, and that starts with how you change your mindset. If we are stuck in a conditioned way of living and this is the only way of living and we're very rigid, then we'll never really be. And then if you don't adapt and change your perspectives, it's just going to be more damaging and more stressful. So learning how to change your mindset, adapting to um, and accepting that, yes, you know what, I have to make certain lifestyle changes to do better for my health. And like Selma said, you know, cutting out the certain foods, in your diet, eliminating certain things actually makes a huge difference. But then it's adapting healthier choices. So perspective is a big thing, right? Changing your perspective, changing your mindset, and then also seeking support. There's a lot of support groups out there. Um, it is important for the person who is diagnosed with the health condition, as well as those who are in the living environment. Because if you've got celiacs, guess what? Then that's a huge life-changing event for the whole family system, right? You're not going to be eating roti and all this at home. You're going to have to make adjustments in what you're eating. So what's around the household. So it impacts everybody. Certain things and certain conditions can impact everybody. So seeking out a support group, going to counseling, doing those yoga classes and meditation classes, and grounding yourself and seeking that emotional support. I think just to understand what you're dealing with, and part of it is the acceptance of it. I think that's a very big part of any health condition, especially when you're dealing with GI, because gut health leads to everything, right? So,
Thank you so much. I love that. I think, and I think this is a theme that has come up
yeah,
when we're talking about diabetes, when we're talking
yeah,
about breast cancer, all of it it
everything.
impacts not just you, it impacts the whole family, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a really good reminder. How about Selma, Sadia, anybody have any other insights as far as quality of life? What can we do to take control of that?
I just wanted to touch back about what Dr. Salama said about the diet. And one thing I wanted to mention that I tell a lot of the patients that come in, which really aggravates your condition when you have gut health issues is, and a lot of people are not going to like this, is coffee. I think that really causes a lot of issues with gut health as well for people who already have it. And I always recommend them to stop the coffee completely, especially on an empty stomach. It breaks down, it further aggravates the stomach lining and everything like that. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And the second thing I want to mention was just the same thing, quality of life, concentrating on your health, being grateful for the health that we do have besides what we're going through. That also helps a lot. Um, and then just doing holistic things like breathing, Dr. Selma mentioned, Avila mentioned, and having like a good support system to kind of help you get through it. And also, um, researching about it and kind of having coming to your own conclusions about through your research and through talking to other professionals about what's going on, how you can deal with it, getting different opinions about it as well.
I think I have a question actually. Maybe Dr. Salma, you can the answer this one is what kind of doctor do you need to see if you're feeling these symptoms? Is it just you go to your primary care physician, they refer you to somebody? Can you tell us what that diagnosis kind of process, like what happens next once you have been diagnosed with this?
Yeah, I would say definitely start with your primary care physician. And, depending on what you have going on, there's so much that can be treated with medication, there's so much that can be tested for. They will refer you and they will, take you through that journey based on your individual situation. So definitely please go see your primary care doctor. And if you're not, sometimes women we just think, oh, this is normal. Like my time of the month is coming. This must, this always happens. Or I'm stressed. I'm just going through so much. This is just normal. It's not. If you're not feeling right, I think you need to prioritize your health. You need to remember our body is an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a form of worship, right? It really is, it's an honor that Allah has given us this blessing, and we have to take care of it. We will be questioned about it. So I think it's important to know that and not feel guilty and give yourself that space to say, I deserve this, right? Something's not right, and go get your primary care, get your annual screenings every single year, and talk to your doctor. Make a list, and it may not happen in one visit, and you need to follow up. And a lot of people may come once, and then they don't come for a while, and they're suffering in silence. You do not need to be suffering in silence. Please go see your doctor, follow up. It's your gut, it's your health, and you deserve better. So if it's not right, if it doesn't feel right, like she said, Abila said, trust your gut, trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And you need to keep, like Sadia said, find people who can help you, find answers, research, and just don't give up. Because if it was your child, you would not give up. You would keep looking and hunting until you found something. But when it comes to us as women and moms, we just feel like, oh, it's okay. I've got too many other things, and I'll deal with it. I'll drink some this, and I'll have some zam and I'll be okay. And yes, all that is great, but after a while, after going on and on, I think get the help you need. In terms of what you said, how you cope with it, I think one of the biggest things you need to know where it comes to that mindset is know your why, right? Know your why. Like, what are you trying to fix and why? Why is this important, right? What is your life going to look like when this is better? And identifying that. And when you've identified that, then you are motivated and you're driven. And when you go back to your why, then you know, like, okay, this is why I'm making all these changes. Then it seems worth it. So identify your why and know your intention of what you're doing. And for some people, it might be, taking care of this body because it's a gift from Allah. For some people, it might be, I just want to get through the day where I'm not running to the bathroom and then I'm not embarrassed in front of people. Whatever it is, know your why and identify it, because that's going to help you make those changes. The second thing would be to identify what changes need to be made, but it's not going to happen overnight. Right? We set all these standards to say, I need to do this and I need to do this, and then it's overwhelming. So this is my life coach hat on to say micro habits. Micro habits are huge. Pick one thing. And when I see my patients, I coach them on this and I say, let's pick one thing from all the things we talked about. What is one thing you can start today? And it doesn't have to take a long time to do. So we're not talking about hitting the gym for an hour. We're talking about what's one small, tiny change you can make. Maybe it's just drink an extra glass of water a day. Maybe it's, stop buying chips. Maybe cutting out that caffeine or cutting down to 1 cup a day. Whatever it is, pick one thing and do that habit so it becomes part of who you are. And that helps over time. As you build these micro habits, you change the trajectory of where things were going and now where things are. And it's just more manageable with all of the hats that women wear. It's too much to fix everything at once. And everyone's going to say, whoa, what happened? The other thing, when you make major changes, it's not sustainable. A lot of people do these changes and they're like, this was great, we lost all this weight, but yeah, it all came back because I just couldn't keep on that keto diet anymore, or that whatever fad diet. Life is about balance and moderation, and it's important that we see it that way and we don't deprive ourselves. So you can have that ice cream once in a while, you can indulge once in a while, but just make those minor, small changes, and you'll notice the difference.
Thank
So
you so much. I
I'm
think,
going to add to Dr. Salma
no,
right
go
there.
ahead.
There's a book called Atomic Habits that discusses that really
yes,
well. So it's changing your mindset into more of a lifestyle change rather than, oh, I just want to lose 10 pounds, and that's my goal. So you shift your perspective. So it's an mental thing too.
yeah, absolutely. It's a great book.
I love that. Do you know the author?
Not off the top of my
It's
head.
okay. We'll put it in the blog. You'll send me.
Atomic Habits. Right.
I do think I want to thank you all three of you, because I know I personally have gained a few micro habit suggestions today. Don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. I think this is something so many people I know will do first thing in the morning. Just grab that
Mhm.
coffee. Breathing, just breathing.
Mhm.
It's something we can all add. I have a little um sticky note on my computer screen that says 3 deep breaths, just to remind me all the time. But there's little things that we can do, that all of us can do, that can help impact our physical health, our well-being. So I really want to thank all three of you for sharing that. I do want to respect Dr. Selma's time. I know, Selma, you have to head out to see some patients, and that's really, really important. But we will be continuing this conversation on Zoom. So if you are in the Zoom room, please stay here. We will have more Q&A with our guests. And I wanted to just remind everybody, next month in January, we will be talking about Alzheimer's and dementia care and caring for our loved ones when they are living with Alzheimer's or dementia. I think it's a place, like, I think, Abila, you were mentioning, right? Caregivers, these 30-year-olds that are now having to take care of parents that are really it's a challenge, and we love our parents, and this is our responsibility. But how do we manage that and navigate that? And I think that's a really important subject too. So that stay tuned. That's going to be coming up in January. Thank you, ladies, so, so much. Any final words that you all want to add before we stop the live and head into the Zoom room for question and answer? Any final thoughts?
I'm just gonna say you're worth it, and you are what you eat. So it
Alhamdulillah.
really, you know, yeah, you're worth it. You deserve better. So if not,
I
something's
love
not
that.
right, keep looking for an answer.
I love that.
I will just say, to add to that is do one thing every day that gives your heart joy and peace and happiness. Just shift your perspective, change your perspective,
Alhamdulillah.
right?
And I wanted to just that reminder, right? Our body is our amana. We are here. We have to take care of ourselves along with taking care of everybody that we love.
Mhm.
And if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we, care for the ones that we've been entrusted with? So thank you all so, so much. Thank you, Salma. Thank you, ladies. Inshallah, we will see you again next month. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and stay in the Zoom room if you want to talk. Alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
Okay, we are not on Facebook anymore. Thank you, ladies. And I am still recording because you know what has happened in the past is that we'll have these questions and answers, and some really incredible questions come up, and some really important discussion happens. And I was like, "Ugh," I stopped recording. So it's not going live. So feel free to talk. And I will, if anybody says something or, later on you're like, hey, Sadaf, please do not put that in the recording on YouTube. I will not put it on YouTube. I will snip it out. So don't worry about that. But everybody, I'm gonna unspotlight our guest, Selma. If you need to head out, don't worry. You can head out. I'm going to remove all the spotlights so we can see everybody in the room, and inshallah, then we can have a nice conversation. Hold on. There we go. So, assalamu alaikum. There were a few more people that had to hop off. I know we were running on low on time, but if anybody else is in the room, how are you ladies doing? Do you have any questions? You can unmute. I don't even know if there was anything in the chat.
I just put the
Um,
name of the book. It's James
oh, good.
Clear. So Atomic
James
Habits by
Clear.
James
Let me
Clear,
write that
amazing
down.
book. Um,
Awesome. I feel like we
Assalamu
can have
alaikum.
like a women's health book club if we wanted, but okay. Yes, somebody unmuted.
Okay, my name is Shelley.
Walaikum Shelly.
I have a question for you. So we have micro habits that we can form, but what are the tips that you can provide that will keep you motivated to continue improving?
that's a great question, Shelley. So remember when I talked about micro habits, I first said know your why. That's the first thing you have to know is why are you doing this? And when you write that down and be very clear in your mind, your motivation, your niyyah, your intention, your why behind it, that's what's going to keep you driven to make those changes. But I'm sure Abila has more insight.
Yeah. Well, well, no, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say is the why power, right? If you want to put your intention down. So what I did, because I did this whole elimination thing last year, right? I took out the carbs, I took out the sugars and the caffeine and the dairy. I took it all out for like 1 week and I did it all at once. So it was a lot of fun, but it worked. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, it works phenomenally. And of course I reintegrated back a lot of things. But before I started that, I made an intention. I prayed about it, and it was right during Hajj. I remember season of Hajj. So I took my whiteboard and my on my refrigerator, and I wrote down in just on the top sections. I wrote down for my like 7 whys. Like, what is my why power? Why am I doing this? Okay, vitality, energy, healthy living, and I don't know whatever else is there. So basically, I put it down where I could see it. So every time I open the fridge, I'm looking at it,
Oh,
right? Like
nice.
it's one of those things that it's a constant reminder. So if you have little things that you can do where, just visually see it, visualize it. You can make a vision board. That's another thing. Like create a vision board. That's fun. Look up how to do a vision board, you know, health, life, quality of life, all these different things. If there's been an activity that you've been wanting to do but you've been holding yourself back because of some health issue, put it out there as a vision that, inshallah, you want to get to that place,
Yeah.
So just make it fun. Really make it fun. Take the stress off of it because it can be fun.
And I love the Nia idea, right? Like this
Yeah.
is really so much of it is our
Yeah.
intention and
Yeah.
reminding ourselves of that intention constantly.
So if I'm gonna jump off, I've got
Go. Thank you.
patients.
Thank you
But
so much,
thank you
Selma,
so
for your
much. Thank you
time.
for creating this
Appreciated it.
space. And
Oh,
Jazakallah
alhamdulillah.
khair, ladies. Thank you for
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
take care. Assalamu alaikum. Abila, it was nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you too, Salma.
Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
Rahmatullah.
We try to keep these conversations in our lunch hour.
Yeah.
So
I'll be
any
logging
other
off in a couple
questions?
minutes too.
Yeah, I know everybody has to run. Any other questions you ladies have before we hop off? We can ask them via email, the ones that left, and incorporate that and email everybody.
Was there a clinic that we could see these doctors at? Do you know the clinic names?
I will let me email you right when we get done. I will email you everybody's names, and then you can. I know Selma, she does have a clinic, so I will email all of that information to you all.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, if you registered and you gave your email, then you'll receive that information.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. Thank you, ladies. If we don't have anything else, I really appreciate everybody joining. I hope this was beneficial, inshallah.
This was a really
So
cool meeting.
inshallah,
I
we'll
like
see
the
you
topics.
next month, right? Thank you, ladies. Okay.
This was very
Assalamu
interesting. Thank you.
alaikum.
Welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Bye, guys.